So, Mike, here we are again, pre-AEP. The rubber's starting to hit the road and the AEP clock is ticking. Are you ready?
I am. We've been ready since like mid-May.
I'm in this new space where I'm in the AI technology space versus the ramping agents and getting distribution ready to roll, and it's pretty exciting.
I got to ask you, what's the difference?
I have a solution now
Okay.
to help companies increase conversions and lower CPAs and all those things that I was trying to figure out how to do when I was ramping. I can help companies do that now, leading into and into AEP. So,
I gotcha. So you're trying to solve for the issue that I have challenges with every day, which is how can I get my agents better and more efficient, I'd imagine.
yeah, not only that, more quickly, right? I know one of your biggest things is everybody comes to you in August, September, when they miss their ramp number and they say, Mike, we need agents. Go find them for us. You have 3 days, right? But they have to be good because we have to ramp them. What's that?
How many times did you do that to me over the last half decade?
Well, we're sitting here because you're good at it. You're
So
one
I
of the people that's figured out how to crack that. How did you figure it out? How did you crack it?
so back in the day, we found out that building an internal network immediately was going to help us. So you've got we call them generation agents here. We split our team into enrollers and brokers. One thing I think that's been really beneficial of our broker customers that's helped us big time is hiring in May and June, right? I think
Yeah.
as the industry evolves, whether it be there's more agents on the street, so it's sifting through who can do which job. A broker job where you're selling multiple carriers is a much more intense type of production role than that of taking a call for a single carrier. And I think it's been helpful that the brokers have started that earlier. So we've been able to develop a network over the past decade where we split those agents in half, right? And the ones who come from the enrollment background that want to get into this space, we're honing in more on their skills, like technical skills, soft skills, answer the questions the right way and go into depth about it. So it's helped us really organically drive both lines of work. But with the continued changes to like whether it be blackout dates or how many carriers all these brokerages are selling, right? It used to be two or three, now it's eight or nine. That becomes more and more challenging, right?
Wasn't that one of the things I know in years past? Because we've worked together when I was at an agency and you
Mhm.
ramped agents for me there. When I was at a BPO and you ramped BPO agents for me. I know we spent a lot of time licensing, appointing, kind of learning that landscape. And are you doing that now
Yeah.
too?
So you are you sort of helped pave the runway for us in that world. You know, if you sell one carrier, it's much easier to get RTS ready to sell, right? But from your broker days, you know that an agent, if they can only sell one carrier, the ROI on the book is minimal, is marginalized, right? So
Yeah.
we hired a licensing and contracting team. We took two people out of the direct to consumer space. I'd say 80% of their work right now is helping our direct to consumer brokers in getting releases and understanding, hey, how do you go to an upline and get released? And then once you get that release, how do you then communicate that to a carrier? Right. Because you not only need the release, you need to get terminated in the system. Everything is so sophisticated. So I think what's important to us with our customers is we make sure that they can sell 70 to 75% of the book day one. I think, the traditional recruiting method of licensed agents over the year has been find a ton of people with this license and then figure it out later. What we've learned is that our customers have challenges there because these people have a license, but they can't necessarily sell the book. So it's unproductive hours. The ROI takes a lot longer to pull profitable. And then also we're focused on people that have significant numbers of non-resident licensed states, trying to figure out best ways to control costs for our customers while taking on that. I call it the headache of RTS, but in reality, it's as critical as finding the agents themselves and selling the policies. Right, every day, every week is important for a brokerage. They don't get paid unless they make sales. So if they can't make sales early, as you know, the agency is not profitable.
Well, yeah, and that's that sunk cost going into AEP. If you hire in July, you have all this unproductive time from July until October 15th, right? So to your point, getting the agents productive in that time, that's kind of where we come into it. Conversely AI, we're able to help take agents, whether they be from a recruiting firm or an internal agent or a BPO, and we have systems and tools with different benefits that allow you to scale that staff more quickly from agent insights, where if you put them on the phones after training and you can listen to their calls and with AI, and you can score their calls and you can get immediate feedback to the agent, coach them, constantly coach. You can have different cohorts of agents where you might have each training class in a cohort, listening for different things in the model as you take them through that onboarding journey. And we're just getting ready to release a new product that is training based, where you don't have to hire a trainer for every 20 agents or whatever it may be, and you can hire a little later
Right.
because you'll be able to do role plays with AI instead of trainers. So the AI will listen to the calls and then do the role plays with the agents, and it's super powerful stuff.
So if I were to hire 50 agents, say hypothetically, I wanted to start an agency tomorrow, right? Medicare is yours agnostic to the industry?
Totally agnostic.
Yeah.
We play in a lot of different spaces. We're in financial, we're in debt relief. We actually have products that we work with lead gen partners, not just Medicare agencies or ACA agencies or whatever it may be, because we not only provide agent insights, but we provide lead insights, and it's not
Got it.
keyword based. We have actual large language models that listen to the calls, that can identify customer intent, can identify a customer's willingness to buy. It can help a lead gen company know when they're buying from different publishers, which publishers are sending better calls, so they can go out and renegotiate with publishers. Or an agency can know different publisher and lead source calls and say, the AI might hear something like, back in the day, it was always teeth and eyes, right? Like, because
Yeah.
everybody was marketing, free dental and vision. The AI would pick up on that and say, you're just sending me calls that want free dental and vision. Stop doing that. So
Right.
super powerful for lead gen companies too. We work with a couple very large lead gen companies that are using our product.
So it's always the challenge I always have is you hire any agency or brokerage or even carrier we work with. It's always, I need better agents, and then when we tell the agents you have to perform better or this job's not for you, the response I get is the leads aren't good enough,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it's a tale as old as time, and it's
We
typically,
legislate that.
yeah, you typically need a third party arbitrator. It sounds like, and it sounds like that's what you guys are doing.
That's what intrigued me about Conversely AI initially when I started talking to Tim and Peter, our CEO and founder, was the ability for our technology to legislate between the agent or the lead. I was
Yeah,
always on the distribution side. So
you
I was
always blame
always,
the agents.
what's that?
You always blame the agents.
No, I always blame the leads. Yeah. BPO versus a agency, right? But yeah, this legislates that because it
Yeah,
goes in, it listens to the call, it listens for the buyer intent, it listens for the different buying cues, it listens for objections, and tells us, did the agent do anything to overcome that objection? If they did, what did they say? And then
yeah,
if it works, we can go up and scale that. I always had a saying, stop it or scale it. If an agent's doing something that works and it's within the bounds of compliance and what we need, scale it. If
yeah.
not, stop it. And that's what we're able to do.
Makes sense. So I always get I get the anxiety around, hey, find me 50 people, and how long's the training? Training's a week and a half or 2 weeks.
Yep.
What does it consist of? And a lot of times it's systems, tools, contracting, the all the paperwork for the carriers, right? Certs and whatnot. And then they're on the phone. So
Yeah.
that gives me anxiety, right? Because while we love what we do, and I feel like we provide a really valuable service at all three levels, carrier, brokerage, and BPO, the anxiety I get is if they don't get enough time to train, how successful will they be, right?
Yeah.
So, how early on can your product come in and almost alleviate the concern of quality with a fairly newer agent that might be in a nesting period?
Yeah, almost immediately, because like I said, we have technology that allows us to do one of the challenges with work from home is nesting or
Yeah,
sitting side by side with an agent.
because you're not
And
physically doing it.
exactly. You can't just get a splitter and go sit down with them and coach them and see their screens. But we've solved that by having AI and voice be able to do those role plays with the agent and take the cue from what the agent's telling and saying and do actual comparison and training that way.
When agents are nesting in a remote environment, it's really hard to actually digest the feedback that they're getting, truthfully, right? If it's another human to human that's not sitting next to you and your production depends on that experience. A
Different
lot of
agents
times,
learn it. Here's one thing I took away from the last few years. Training remotely, different agents learn at different
correct,
speeds. And different agents come to us with different levels of experience. Back in the day, everybody sat in a room in a training class, 40 people, you all learned at the pace of the slowest person,
correct,
basically.
yeah.
So if you're able to nuance your training, break it up into chunks, have agents learn chunks of the training, test out of that piece and move on to the next, you could have agents hit the phones at different
Different time,
times, and that helps you with your SG&A. That helps you with agent attrition, because if I'm a superstar, I don't want to have to sit in training for 4 weeks. But if I'm new, I'm going to need training for 4 weeks.
right?
So you put me on the phones in 2, you wait your 4, and
Yeah.
everybody wins, right?
And I
So
think
that's
part of it is, I think part of it too, to your point, is these agency owners get on the phone as quick as you can because we need to churn this ROI. I think we've learned that we find people from different paths of life that are very successful, whether it's Medicare, ACA, they're selling group, it's a new initiative like ICRA, whatever it may be. Some of our most successful agents that we've hired have needed more training because they've come from the final expense industry, the PNC industry, financial services, right? They may have
yep,
been working commission only, but they've got all the motivation in the world to want to go in and start making 2 to 3 sales a day versus knocking on doors for a month, right?
yeah.
So those people need that time, but then they sometimes turn out to be the best agents. They just need a little bit more nesting and nurturing versus,
Oftentimes you can teach somebody Medicare, but you can't teach them how to sell.
well, that's exactly right. So
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes the contrary is you find folks in our world, hey, we want people with Medicare experience because it'll shorten the training time because we don't have to teach them about A through D, right? It's just
yeah,
the stuff, learn the script. Here's how it all works.
yeah.
But at times they don't have that driving factor of I need to, grind it out, make money, and grow my business and the company's business. So there's that weird dynamic of inexperienced but hungry, and then experience and almost so set in ways, right?
Well,
Where
they've
it's
been doing it for so many years, and so yeah. And those people are good too. It just
they're
depends,
great.
right? Like back in the day, I can say that because I've been doing this for a while. You
Back
know,
in the
we
80s.
we would start people as a screener or a fronter,
Right.
and they were on license. They would take calls. They would screen the customer. They would learn about the products and then warm
Yeah.
transfer, right? You don't do that anymore because it's a cost. People
Right.
are using, that's another product of Conversely, is virtual agents, where we're doing screening and we set the Conversely brain over top of the screening calls too, so we can give our customers insight into who's calling in, who's being screened, how the AI is screening the people. So that's another pretty unique product to us. But you don't have that pipeline of hungry people waiting to make it to an agent because they can make 100 grand a year.
Yeah.
It's
Can you
changed.
guys can you guys route calls to the right agents? Does it work in that functionality where, hey, this agent tends to take, turn a better ROI on an individual that might be a little bit more elderly or somebody that lives, in a certain region of the country, can you guys route calls as well?
Yeah, so we can help a company route their calls. Like
Got it.
we can give them the information through lead analysis and agent analysis and marry the two and say, Mike Rodder, give him all the calls from Wisconsin and
Yeah.
Minnesota because, he connects with people from there. Give Lowry everybody from Pittsburgh and Philly, right? Because he
Yeah.
connects with people from there. We have technology where after every call, we can spit out exactly what happened on that call.
Yeah.
And it might be Mike Rodder turning 65, needs this doctor in his plan, needs this, lives in Wisconsin, likes the Wolverines, and
Yeah.
call him back in 2 days. So that way you don't even have to log into a CRM. The next step for that agent is sent directly to the agent and the supervisor, and they can make that call when they need to make it, log it.
What these agents have to go through is challenging, right? And it's not so much of navigating Medicare.gov, it's typing in the prescriptions, getting them
Yeah,
spelled right, getting the doctors right, getting the hospitals right. Do you need assisted living? A PPO plan for somebody that's a lot older that may not need referrals versus somebody who's just turning 65 that could potentially they'll survive off an HMO for 5 to 10 years, right? There's a lot of complicated things, and agent education is really important. And Medicare, whichever way you want to look at it, positive or negative, is a for-profit business. But at the
yeah,
end of the day, it is a business that is servicing a member. We almost
100%
look at the license as okay, they've got this license, but there's so much more that goes into it.
complex,
It's
super
complex. And
complex.
I think there's a world where we have to change the way that we're asking interview questions to people. And it's going to be less around do you have a license? What have you sold? What products? What states are you in? This, that, what carriers have you worked for? And more about, tell me about a time you enrolled somebody that had multiple medications, needed assisted living, and, lives in this area, but they wanted to switch a plan because they kept having to get referrals, right?
Yeah,
Like things, does that make sense? And it's
yeah, 100%.
because
And
of
don't
how
you think there's an opportunity? Somebody asked me the other day, like, are agents dead in the insurance industry? And like, they were talking about kind of brokers on the street. And I listened for a little bit and then I jumped in. Agents, you're always going to need agents, right? Like at all levels for a couple of reasons. One, just the carriers being an agent, whether it's on the street or call center distribution.
well, 100%. I think a carrier runs the risk of, let's say, self enrollment becomes the next big topic, right? Where you're giving people the reins to self enroll. I mean, to some extent, could a portion of the population do it probably, but
Yeah.
a carrier runs the risk of all these people, especially seniors, enrolling themselves into plans that may or may not be the right fit, and then that
Well,
just
you
becomes
talk about getting into trouble with like using AI to
correct.
weed people out. And in the MA space, I don't think you'll see
No,
that anytime soon. For med sups or, that was part of, we could talk a little bit about life insurance too. Like we're in the final expense space. I know you, because there's a lot of chatter in the industry right
yeah,
now where flipping Medicare agents to final expense agents outside of AEP, which everybody's been trying to do something like that for
yeah,
years and years and years. But my point is, final expense has automatic enrollment. That's not
right.
exactly what they call it, but it would have to get closer to that. And it
It's
just
like
pulls
swipe
the
a
data.
credit card, you've got a product, and
Right.
there's different ways. We get that a lot, right? Hey, we want to start a life insurance farm where it's final expense, and that stuff works. I mean, it's a very transferable sale.
So,
A lot of them look at it and say, because my Med Advantage population aligns really well to the final expense space, right? I mean, you're talking about people that probably don't have these robust whole or term life policies, right? Where it's something that would be of value to the consumer. And I think these advantage, these brokerages are looking at ways to diversify their book, right? And provide more value to
yeah.
their
Let's talk
customer.
about that a little more from the agent perspective. Like how does that change what you do? Because now Is there a new value add or opportunity for you to try to find people that can do both? Have you been asked that yet?
All the time. So
Yeah.
we get asked a lot of times, our best Medicare people come from final expense or vice versa. Because it's
Really?
not about the product a lot of times, it's about the consumer you're talking to,
Because
right?
one thing I hear all the time is Medicare people need, final expense people don't
It's
need.
don't need, right.
So
That's
there's
the
yeah, okay, okay.
when you're looking at people, I think the detractor in the FE game is that you're selling to somebody that may be older, that you're telling, the sale is that this is a product that you pay for on a monthly basis, almost like you pay for your Netflix, you pay for your car,
Yep,
right? In theory, you don't need any of those things, right? I mean,
yep,
if you want to take the bus, if you want to walk or ride a bike, you can. Medicare, once you turn 65, look, not everyone's on it, but I'd say most of the people take advantage of it. It's a need and a want,
yeah,
right? So I
yeah,
think people, agent wise, tend to gravitate towards Medicare sales in general, is because they know the consumer has interest and they know the consumer qualifies, right? And I
yep,
think that's the biggest advantage to selling Medicare.
yeah,
You said you guys are in that, but I have a hypothetical for you, and we're going to change gears if you're okay. You talked about Conversely AI is incredibly agnostic, right?
yep,
And we both know people in a lot of different industries. We can bore each other and the rest of the world with our insurance knowledge and background and whatever we want to talk about there. Say my recruiting firm wanted to screen 10,000 calls we've done in the last, whatever, call it 3 years. Can I load those calls into some kind of a portal with you guys? And then you guys can train AI on almost giving us a tier one agent to qualify our recruiting calls, so that when the tier two comes, it's when we do the actual official interview, dig into their their needs, their wants, the qualifications, and all those things.
yeah. I think the short answer is yes. I mean, the AI is only as smart as you train it to be, right?
Yeah,
So you have to tell the AI what to look for, markers. And this is how we would do it, whether it's the example you just gave, if it's a Medicare call, if it's a final expense
yeah,
call, if it's a credit relief call. You have different kind of markers throughout your, I'll call it a script or your sales process. Like at a very high level, that's what the agent or the AI looks for. And then as you nuance that, you can tell the AI different keywords, phrases that your good agents use. You can tell it poor phrases that your not so good agents use. And now it can go in and it can tease all of those out. And then as the model gets trained, it can also listen to what's working because it can hear outcomes, right? So you train the model to say, maybe the recruitee says, "Yes, I'm open to work, and yes, I have experience." What did Mike Rodder say to get it to that point? The
yeah,
AI can pull that out and tell us and inform us and say, tell the rest of the team to start saying this because Mike's saying it and it's
yeah.
working. And
Well,
conversely, pun intended, it can say, Mike Lowry is saying this and it's not working. Tell him and the team to stop saying it.
that makes sense. We could get it. We could dial that thing dial it so deep. I think the demand for our services is increased every year, and I think what we're trying to figure out, and this is probably the same thing for the customers you deal with, no matter what their industry is. Right? We have never taken so many calls. We've never had so many lead vendors. We're always exploring how to maximize the leads that we're getting with the agents that we have.
Yep.
Some of my best partners are lead vendors as well, because the more leads they fill, or they feed to a center, the more people they need. So it's this ongoing, grow, but it's, sometimes you have to take a step back and realize, okay, what are we doing well at the
Yep.
lead side, and then which of our agents are working better than others? Where are they
Yeah.
coming from? Right? There's instances where sometimes people in certain pockets of the country, right, service certain members better, right? It's really unique, and I think that's what this can all build. So compliance, right, and regulatory actions in our world is
Yeah.
always challenging, right? Like our team looks at that all day long and have to, this person's got a adverse action and whatnot. But I know when you're on the phones and you're qualifying a member and you're selling a product, that comes into play even more. Do you guys catch that, or is it
Yeah.
are you
That's
still
one of our
relying on
core
agents?
products.
Okay.
Yeah. So our core products, like that the company was founded on, kind of first and foremost was QA. And we can do a lot of different QA, because you have QA for if you're an agency for the carrier, or CMS quality,
Sure.
right? You have it coming back from the carrier, like, hey, Mike, this agent, got a complaint on this. And you used to have to go find that call, have a person listen to it. There could be three calls, so you have to listen to all three, figure out, out of that hour and 45 minutes, the 30-second snippet where they went sideways. And then you have to have people to listen to all those calls. You have to ramp them up in AEP because
Yep.
you're adding 500 agents. So you need to add QA people. We work with all the carriers. We have all the scorecards loaded for the carriers, and millions of minutes listened to, for quality. So a ton of experience. And then we can do custom scorecards for sales quality. So if you're a sales leader, that can live in our quality and compliance dashboard. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. So you're proactive. The biggest thing is the QA always shows up for work. They can work 24/7 and you don't have to pay them, right? So just the SG&A alone,
Yeah.
with the quality products, our models are trained to 95% accuracy. And if that slips, we're a managed service, so you don't have to hire four people to like build
Yeah. You
everything.
guys
You
take
come to
well.
us, or we
Yeah.
notice it's at 94%. We calibrate like you would do with a carrier,
Right.
recalibrate, get it up to 96%, and you're just off and running. It's not keyword based. It's AI large language model based.
Yeah. Well, we score our recruiters too. It's the same thing, right? Because if I
Yeah.
find out if we put the wrong person in the wrong job,
Yep.
we're a for-profit business just like everyone else is, right?
Yep.
And we have a sunk cost there. Our customer has a sunk cost there. There's no productivity, right? So, as we screen our QA, and I'm taking calls from all over the country with individuals who have multiple options. I have multiple carrier contracts, so I can sell whatever I can, whatever the best plan is in a lot of different states. That's complex. So
Yep.
us putting the wrong person in that job can lead to mistakes, can lead to the wrong enrollments. At the end of the day, typically it leads to a non effectuated policy. That's typically 99% of the time what
Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
because somebody else in another shop will pick that up,
Yep.
right? Pick that same customer and consumer up and enroll them the right way because that person had experience. So I think there's a big level. Compliance in your world and my world are totally different. Mine is at the person level, right?
Yep. Yep.
Are we finding the person that's going to A, compliantly enroll people, but B, do it in a way that helps the person on the other side of the phone? And I think yours is capturing what's being said and how it's being said. And I think there's a lot of linear behaviors there.
Well, the other thing that's interesting with, so for us, you only need to do, I think it's 2 calls per agent per week or per month or whatever it may be, sales calls.
Huh.
You know, you want to do more, you just can't.
Yeah.
You don't have the people, right?
I
So
would
with
love
us,
to.
you could do every sales call.
Yeah.
And then you have different cohorts. So maybe you have your BPO cohort, your Mike Rodder recruiting agency cohort, your tenured agent cohort, and your new agent cohort, or whatever it may be. And then you can start measuring people against each other. And maybe I find out the Mike Rodder cohort is better than my tenured agent cohort. What's Rodder doing that I could do here? And we're giving the data, and then we can work with our clients too, because our company was founded by people that came from the industry, came from Medicare and ACA,
Right.
ran call centers. They brought me in with 20 years of experience. So we're almost like consultants too, and we're having those conversations with our clients now. I want to get your thoughts on 1099 versus W2. I think we should talk about that because it's a major shift, I think. Like, it's one of those things where every few years in the industry, you see something that happens and you go, wow. And I'm out of that area now, but a lot of my friends and people I work with, like you, like they're in it. Everybody's doing 1099 now. I don't know how, like it's just crazy to me how it works. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it can work if you have the right person. Again, this all falls on the person, right?
The
Uh,
agent.
the agent. It all
Yeah.
falls because you've got agents that love the idea of I'm going to clock in and clock out on my own dime. I know that I've been with this company for 4 or 5 months. Every time I log in, I can make a couple of sales. The leads are good enough or they're great, right? We see more 1099s come to us that want W-2 versus the other way around.
Hmm.
And the feedback we've been getting from it is in years past, I had a higher effectuation rate on the policies I was enrolling. That has changed. There's so much competition out there. These consumers are constantly calling, whether it's they just want somebody to talk to twice a
Yeah.
week, and that just happens to be the local agency or the national district. The reality, which is there's just more product out there.
Well, and if you're 1099, you're only as good as who you write for
That's
and
right.
the carrier to keep it on the books, right? Like,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. I think but then the downside of W-2 a lot of times is sure, you have a safety net of a job, but our customers are a lot more strict on if we're going to pay you every week, you're going to perform. So there's that balance. And you may not make as much on a per app basis, but you're going to have a safer job, right? A lot of
Yeah.
times. And you're going to, the phone is going to consistently ring.
I don't know how you do a scalable staffing model. Like that's what's always intrigued me is, you know, it's all math and
Yeah.
it's leads and lead cost versus agents and agent cost and conversion, right? And if you don't know how many leads you need to buy on any given day because you don't know how many people are going to show up and then you don't know how they convert, like it adds such another complex variable to the equation that the
I think the hard part for us, and we've very rarely hired 1099s. It's not because we don't want to. It's
yeah,
because it's very hard for me to ask a customer, you have to pay me for my service
right,
without knowing how much attention that individual is going to give to your company, right?
yeah,
So you may work 7 days or 7 hours a week and make 5 sales, and that's all you need because you have a different gig selling life
right,
insurance, whatever,
right.
some non-captive product. Or they may work 45 hours a week and they may be your best producer, but there's a lot of reluctancies with the customers who I tell I don't do a lot of it. I'll do it. We have people that want to do it, but don't get mad at me if it doesn't work out and the person
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
work out.
It's still an opportunity for Conversely because you still need those agents to perform, right? So it's another cohort for our product to sit over top of and help match leads and help give agent insights and help you and the agency that gives that 1099 agent the best leads and the most feedback on how to convert them and how they're performing, they're the ones that the agent's going to log into and take calls for and sell for. So it's an added value, you know.
Yeah, are you able to determine we have 50 1099s and 50 W-2s, which side of the fence is performing better?
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
that might be.
Because it's just a cohort, right? Like it's
Yeah.
another cohort.
Yeah.
And again, it legislates that. And then the financial planning people can go back and do some more math. And it's not just
That'd
based
be
on like
interesting.
a CPA.
That'd be interesting to look at. I think naturally you're going to have more talented agents doing 1099.
I've heard that and I guess I believe it. I don't
Yes,
know because I haven't done it. But again, okay, that's great. But there's no skin in the game. They
you're not
don't have
working
to
40
show
hours
up.
a week. You're not.
I'd rather have two middle performing agents full time than one high performing agent 10
Yeah.
hours a week. You know, again, the math, it just must be really, really hard to do.
And that's on. We got to be firm as heck with people at the W-2 level that nothing's guaranteed, and if they're going to pay you
Yeah.
handsomely at a base rate, there's expectations. This
Yeah.
isn't if you don't want to perform, there's plenty of jobs out there in non-producing worlds, right? And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, if I were doing the 1099, I'd get Conversely and put it over top of it and see who's actually doing it.